What's going on, everybody? Russell Clay here for another video. We had a few people ask about how to use dynasty ratings and dynasty rankings in a startup draft, uh, and that's a great topic. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk about that today. Break down some tips and tricks to evaluate, the startup draft and sort of break down how to use the dynasty ratings rankings and how to have a successful startup draft. So before we do that, I want to take a look at one of my leagues. I didn't have a startup this year, but let's take a look at the settings. First things first. How many teams are in the league? And yeah, we're jumping right into it. How many teams are in the league? How many roster spots? So we got 12 teams, 31 roster spots. So I generally know what that looks like. Standing setup, total points scored, overall winning percentage. See all the tiebreakers there. What is the settings? What does the starting lineup look like? So this is the most important thing before you start a startup draft, and why I don't believe we should have setups where you have just a 250 player dynasty ranking, blind rankings. I just don't think you can do that, especially once you get a few players on your team. Then your needs change, all that good stuff. So for this, we can see this is a super flex league. That means quarterbacks are going to be much more valuable. So when we look at our rankings, which we will in a minute, we're going to take quarterbacks higher. If it's only start one quarterback max, we're going to downgrade those quarterbacks significantly. And as you can see here, start 2 tight ends. That is going to put a crunch on a lot of people to find good starting running or tight ends every week. And unless you have Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, you're probably going to have a lot of down weeks. So keep that in mind as well. And then you see, look at all the flex spots here. So there's 4 or 5 or 6 flex spots. Depending on, most of the time you're going to have a quarterback in one of those flex spots, but we have 11 starters. This is a really deep league, and we're going to need to fill in the blanks here. But with this, I only have to start one running back, only have to start one wide receiver, and, we can kind of make it work. So this makes wide receivers and running backs basically all in one pool together. Some leagues you have to start 2 running backs, you have to start 2 receivers. This can change a startup draft significantly. I have to emphasize, this is probably the most important thing I look at when looking at a pre-draft, a pre-startup setup, and how that's going to adjust my rankings both in the pool and also adjust for my needs and what I need to have a successful roster here. All right, I think that's it here, and then let's go to the league scoring. The next thing, so 4 points per passing touchdown. That means we devalue quarterback a little bit. Also, minus 2.25 for each interception. That's a little more than the average, so that's going to subtract away from quarterbacks as well. Let's see. Yeah, so it's basically a regular PPR. That's kind of what we're looking at here. Nothing too crazy. So we know that PPR, that means guys like Hunter Renfrow are going to get a nice boost. That means running backs that don't catch passes are going to be decreased. So we are now armed with what the league looks like. So that's step 1. Step 2, go over, there's plenty of dynasty ADPs. You can use Fantasy Pros, you can use whatever. But I would highly, highly, highly suggest checking out some Dynasty ADP, seeing where players are going, and then evaluating from there. So as you can see, I'm over at dynastyleaguefootball.com. This is where I used to write. I do think they have pretty reliable mock drafts. Obviously, if you're doing a high stakes draft, people are going to draft different than if they're doing a free mock draft. But there's enough data here to at least get some range of how people value players. And there's two different things here, right, to find deals. Number one, what is the market value of the player? Number two, what is your value of the player? So these Dynasty rankings and ratings are my values. These are how I value the players. That does not necessarily mean we should be drafting them in this order. It just means this is how I value them. Maybe I can get Trevor Lawrence later than that 93 overall rating I have for him here. Or maybe, I have Lamar an 88, but I don't really love the value of him where he's going, which is the case. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. Let's take a look at Superflex. So as you can see, if this is a Superflex draft, we're going to be seeing a lot of quarterbacks going early. And this was kind of one of the questions. How would I possibly use this ranking, which is split up completely, between all the positions? How am I using this to check off these boxes? Jonathan Taylor's 100 and Patrick Mahomes is 100. So since we looked at our settings, we know the starting lineup requirements. We also know there's only going to be 32 starting quarterbacks in a week. And over the course of the year, there will probably be 40 to 45 quarterbacks that make a start. We know running back is much deeper. There's going to be much more running backs involved in a fantasy football season. So over the years, we know running backs aren't going to be as rare of a commodity to find a starter as quarterback. So we're going to bump wide receiver or quarterbacks up in this format. In one quarterback, we're going to be bumping a lot of these running backs way above. And so with the knowledge that Patrick Mahomes is 100 for me, in a one quarterback league, I'm not going to take him in the first round, but I might start looking at him in the third round, maybe the late second round, something like that. Once all the elite wide receivers, running backs, and tight ends are gone, maybe I'll start to look at him there so that I can solidify my spot, in that quarterback spot. So that's kind of the main way to look at this. But I believe we should be looking at ADP as sort of the guideline of how the draft is going to go. And then we use our personal rankings to cross guys off, number one. I'd suggest maybe printing this out and crossing the guys off as they go along, or just kind of having a mental note in your head. All right, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, Burrow are gone. That means I have one more guy in this tier before there's a drop-off to tier 3. So maybe I want to grab Lawrence next. Or maybe, we're at Kyler Murray here. We have a few guys left in that tier. So let's go take a look at wide receiver. So those guys are left there, but maybe CeeDee Lamb, a tier 2 wide receiver, is there. Maybe I want to grab him. He's a 96 rated player for me. So maybe I want to grab Lamb over Kyler Murray because I think I can maybe get that quarterback on the way back in that same tier and get one of my favorite wide receivers. So that's kind of how it works for me. Again, a guy like Kyle Pitts, sometimes the position doesn't matter. When I look at a guy like Kyle Pitts, he's a 100 rated tight end. I think you're going to get a perennial 1,000-yard tight end here with potentially way more, and he's 20 years old. So I'm going to be taking Kyle Pitts in the first round of Dynasty startups regardless of the format and all that good stuff. I'm going to be taking him. I am not seeing that be the case with some of our subscribers so far this year. So that's the general basis here. And then let's say you get two quarterbacks. Let's say you get Pat Mahomes and then you come around, you get Justin Fields. Well, that might make the rest of these tier of quarterbacks not as valuable. And so once you get those 2 quarterbacks, you say, all right, I got my starters, I got Mahomes, I got Justin Fields. Then there's not as much pressure here to take a Zach Wilson or a Deshaun Watson or, Derek Carr or anything like that. There's not that pressure because you already have the starters. So once that happens, I'd say you'd bump those guys down if you have the position covered. You bump those guys down. You say, all right, I'm good at wide receiver or good at quarterback. Maybe I'll take some of these wide receivers in this big tier 4 here. Maybe I'll take Garrett Wilson, Drake London, or Jerry Jeudy or something like that. Or maybe I want to go with a win now build. I'll take Devontae Adams and try to hit my window because I have 2 good starters. Or maybe I'll come over here to running back. Maybe I want to grab a Kenneth Walker, or I want to grab an A.J. Dillon or something like that. So that's kind of how we look at this, right? And maybe let's say I'm the guy who grabbed Jonathan Taylor, and then I came around in the 4th round, 3rd round, grabbed Saquon Barkley. I only have to start 1 running back in that format we looked at. So maybe I don't have to grab another running back until the very end. Maybe I can just wait till the end and grab guys like Melvin Gordon and Ronald Jones and Darrell Henderson. And then maybe I'll load up on wide receiver because I think they last a little longer. Maybe Rashad Bateman will be there, and maybe I can grab 3 or 4 of these guys in a row. Because I've addressed running back. Maybe I want to wait on tight end. It seems like tight ends are flying off the board a little more than I'd expect. Maybe I'll just keep ignoring that position and draft. Maybe Pat Freiermuth will fall. So as you can see, I have Pat Freiermuth as a 90 overall, my tight end 4 in Dynasty. What is he here? He is tight end 9. So I can potentially wait, say Pitts, Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle all fly off the board in the first 50 picks. I'm still not sweating because my tight end 4 is going to be there later. So that's another factor here. Where are the values? Where do I think the values are? When we look at wide receiver, let's say Mike Williams. Where is he? Mike Williams. Where is he? Oh my gosh. Wide receiver 33. Well, I have Mike Williams at, what do I have Mike Williams at here? I have Mike Williams at wide receiver 7, and he's wide receiver 33 in ADP. So if I see that, does that mean I have to take Mike Williams in the 1st round? No, that means I can wait till the 6th or 7th round and take him there. So you can pile on as much as you want with sort of value or what you consider value based on the ADP. So that's how I'd suggest doing this. Get your favorites, get the guys you're fading, look at ADP. Look at your rankings or ratings. Look at my rankings over at Fantasy Guru. Make your own after that and fire away from there. Head into the Discord. Hop into the Discord here. Post your Dynasty questions. Post your, say you got to pick. I got to pick between Rashad Bateman, Elijah Moore, or, I have the option to take an A.J. Dillon or something like that. Who do I pick? Bring it out. Vet it with other people. See what they have to say. So, there's a ton of resources out there. I have faith in the Fantasy Guru subscribers that they'll be able to figure this out. But I hope this provided some value on the thought process of doing a draft, doing a startup draft, and sort of navigating that. So as always, I hope you guys got some value out of this. If you did, please give it a like and also subscribe to the channel. And hey, if you're over at Fantasy Guru already watching this, you already did all the work. Thank you for subscribing and checking this out. So for Russell Clay, I am happy to do this. I love talking Dynasty. Hit me up in the Discord. But that is it for today. I will see you guys next time.